First up, put your hands together for the guest of honor at the Kerala Literature Festival, Captain Sunita Williams. Do better, right at the back. Did you expect this, Miss Williams?
No, not at all. I am very humbly surprised by the number of people. Like I was mentioning, this is a lot different from being in space. And it's so nice to know that all of you are here looking down from space. What a great welcome. I'm so appreciative. I'm so humbled. Thank you so much.
You know, while you were up there floating, a lot of us Indians would look up at you. You know, how many of you, okay, show of hands, had a watch party for Captain Sunita Williams when she touched down and splashed down on SpaceX Dragon? How many of you, show of hands, had a watch party? How many of you heaved a collective sigh of relief when you saw those dolphins swirling around that spacecraft? How many of you?
Thank you.
It is truly amazing. You know, for me, this is surreal, Captain Williams, because with all puns intended, I am literally over the moon to be doing this. At our newsroom at the India Today, you know, we held a watch party for you. And it was about 4:35 in the morning. And, you know, it looked, you know, that scene was a part of, it looked like a Hollywood film. You know, with the capsule floating down, the balloons coming up, the dolphins, it was created, that it was a magical moment. And even in our newsroom at 4:35 in the morning, we are all exhausted. We are all giving ourselves high fives like we had a part to play in this. So therefore, you know, you've been with the NASA, you're an American citizen, but all of us in India feel we own a little part of Sunita Williams. Is this homecoming?
Wow, this is amazing. You know, when I was on my first mission, we were delayed coming home, and my father had told me, he said, everybody in India is praying. And I said, I don't believe you, this can't happen. And then when I came home, I actually saw newspaper articles, and I realized this is true. A friend of mine was in the Himalayas at an elementary school, and he said, oh my gosh, your picture is at the elementary school. And I was like, wow, this is so heartfelt, so warming to me that I have been taken as a daughter of India, and I'm just so humbled by that. So when this mission happened, again, you know, we have a job to do, and I'm not thinking too much about other things beside for doing my job, except for when we came home. When we came home, I knew the greeting would be this big. I didn't realize it would be all in one place, but I realized the greeting would be this big, and I so appreciated it, and I just feel at home here, and I can't thank you enough for being my family.
No, you know, we were praying, there were havans that were going on, there were astrological calculations, all of that was going on. So there was a lot of love, you know, that was pouring out and hoping that you'd make it back safely. But I want to come back, Miss Williams, 27 years. There's a bit of serendipity to this moment that you're here in India and that your retirement is announced. And I want to read this out. 27 years, that includes 3 missions to the International Space Station, 600 days in space, 9 spacewalks, over 62 hours in open space, the most by any woman in history, the first human to run a marathon. I can go on. I can go on. You have etched yourselves in the annals of human space history. You're a legend for us back home in India. And, you know, you've etched that legacy in space, Captain Williams. But the impact of it is being felt here, where with so many young lives, young boys, girls, to make them believe that even sky is not the limit. The weight of that, do you feel it? Do you know the kind of people you've inspired back home in India?
Again, it's so humbling. It's hard to actually even really imagine, but it is very poetic that I am here when I'm retiring, because I could pass that message along. I think the greatest compliment for somebody doing a job is for their mentee to take over and do that job better, or to inspire the next generation to do that job better and in a different way, and open young people's eyes to the possibilities and the opportunities that are there that have grown over the last 27 years during my career. So I hope to share that with the children tomorrow. I think I have 2 sessions to talk to kids about the possibilities that are out there, and I'm really excited about that. So I appreciate this opportunity. I think it's very fortuitous, auspicious that I'm here when my retirement's announced.
You do know, that session with kids, it's all kinds of questions on what happens in space. Some of them, and I was thinking, okay, I really can't ask her that on stage, but you're going to get them tomorrow. But coming back, Captain Williams, to retire after 27 years, to hang up what you've had 3 space suits, to hang up your space suit for good. Did you want to...
Actually 4.
4? Wow, okay. To hang them up and say that I'm done. Are you done? Because there's a mission to the moon coming up, there's a new program. Are you truly done?
Like it was quoted before, I would love to go back to space, but there are so many good young people who are ready to take on that challenge. Also, my husband would kill me, so I can't do that unless they came back and said, hey, you are the one, we need you because of your skills. I don't think that's going to happen, but if that ever happened, sure. I would love to go to the moon. The whole reason that I became an astronaut, it was not my first career choice, but the whole reason I became an astronaut because I heard about landing on the moon, and I thought, wow, I know how to fly a helicopter, I know how to land vertically, maybe I can contribute, maybe I have some skills that would offer us a sustainable a sustainable landing on the moon where we would stay there for a long period of time and we would learn and jointly learn with people from all over the world, and I wanted to be part of that. I didn't realize the space station was going to be being built. I was so happy it was, though, because it is so complicated. And it's so intertwined with so many different countries working together, sharing knowledge, sharing engineering. I was blown away when I first came to NASA. I was like, wow, this is such an amazing program. We did this program. We are still doing that program with people living in space for the last almost 26 years coming up, or 25 years, going on the 26th year. It's incredible. So in my mind, when I saw how we were going to put the space station together, I didn't believe it. I thought, there's no way all these countries will work together. There's no way we can do this, put all this together in space, never here on Earth, but we did it. And not only did we did it, we're thriving on that space station. So when people say we can't do something, don't believe them. We can do it. Humans are not only nice and good, we're smart. We can figure it out. I know this crowd right here is super smart, and if we're given a problem, we can figure out how to solve that problem.
Captain Williams, any fear of missing out, FOMO, now that you're retired, because you're going to be, you're going to be seeing all of this and observing it instead of saying, I can do this, because throughout your career, what we've seen, that one quality of resilience, of rolling up your sleeves and saying, I'm going to get this job done. Every time, even I would reckon in your 9 months in space, and we are going to talk about how that 8-day mission turned into an over 9-month mission. Every image that came in from the International Space Station of you, and we'll also talk about the hair, all of that was, of a woman who was strong, who was courageous, determined, perseverance, and was just going and getting the job done. Is there fear of missing out?
Oh, absolutely.
I want to do it.
Absolutely. Who doesn't want to, who wants to go to the moon? It would be amazing. I think it would just be incredible. Think about being on the moon and looking back at Earth from that perspective, seeing Earth as a entirely round planet. It would be incredible. Of course I would love to go. That was the whole reason I wanted to join NASA in the first place. And then I realized what we were doing, all the engineering, the technology, the science that we are doing, and I fell in love with that as well. I am so happy that there are people who are also excited about this mission to the moon, are going to the moon. We're launching Artemis 2 in the next couple months, if not the next month. That'll be opening the door for us going back to the moon and sustainably and being there and working together as humans on another body in the sky. Isn't that incredible? So yes, of course I have FOMO, but I am excited also to see my friends do this, to see my fellow human beings do this. And also, I saw some really great places on Earth that I haven't been to when I was up in space. So I have to fill my time. I'm going to fill my time with traveling all around. Kerala is one of them.
All right, Kerala is one of them, and we are very, very happy to have you as a guest of honor at the Kerala Literature Festival. You know, you've been asked this question a lot, that what was it that you missed most when you were up in space about Earth? And you spoke of your dogs. I see you've got, you know, would you just hold it out for our audience? So she's got this tattoo of dog paw prints on her forearm. And what is it now? Because I can reverse the question.
Yeah,
That being on Earth, you'll miss about being in space.
You know, of course I miss my family and friends, but we have the opportunity to have conversations like this. And even with videos, so we can see each other. And it was really wonderful. As soon as we were extended in space, my family reached out to my family all over, here in India, in Slovenia. You know, I think the one benefit of COVID is we're able to actually connect, and we feel comfortable doing that. And so all of my families were getting together, and it was sort of fun to have all the different languages on the screen while I was up in the space station and could talk to everybody. I got caught up on the daily news of what's going on in my family, the rumors. It was pretty fun. But the thing that I didn't get to see or talk to, of course, are my dogs. And I do, like I mentioned at the podium, I look at our planet, and not only do I feel the heartthrob of all the people and the family and friends that I know, but also the animals that I love. You know, that's just amazing to see them in action here on our planet. This is our planet where they live. This is our planet where the fish live. This is our planet where all the trees live. This is our planet. And to not be able to be part of that, that was sort of painful. And what I mean by that too is our Earth is living and breathing too. To not feel rain on your head for 9 months, it was terrible. I don't know if you guys like rain, but I love rain. I also not to feel wind or not to feel sand in your feet. Those are the things about Earth that I really, really missed.
Most people in the audience will say, last a Kerala monsoon and then you tell us whether you love rain. It can be brutal, but yeah, rain is lovely. So I'll ask you that question because you've spoken of what you missed back now that you've retired. Miss Williams, what is it that you will now miss when you were in space?
Oh, so much. Space is just a unique opportunity, and even on my first flight, when I was ready to come home, I was crying, like a little, you know, like I was crying because I didn't know if I'd ever have that opportunity again. Being able to float like a little child and just do spins while you're up in space is just so much fun. It brings you all the way back to the essence of being a human being. It's amazing. To able to look out the window. I didn't know if I'd ever have that opportunity again to see the Earth as I was describing it, to see the billions of stars, because we don't have the cloud of humidity looking out the window is absolutely clear. To see the craters so clearly on the moon from that perspective. All of that, I was wondering if I'd ever have the opportunity, if I'd ever feel like I was contributing to humanity like I was in space. And so I was crying when I left. Every single time I had the opportunity
Even, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting, but did you cry even after when you were stuck for about
Absolutely.
9.5 months coming back?
Absolutely. It's such an amazing place. It brings that emotion, that human emotion, out in all of us. And to leave it and know that you're not going to be able to have that opportunity again is heartbreaking. But I have a lot of, like I mentioned, great friends who are going to be doing it. Future Indian astronauts who are going to have that opportunity. I just cannot wait for that as well. Future for Slovenian astronauts. All people from all over the world working together. That's what all of that means.
No, you know, we can surely use you. We have Gaganyaan, so I'm going to talk about that. But let's go back, Captain Williams, on your mission, which was supposed to be an 8-day mission, and it turned into an over 9-month mission. Clearly something went wrong. And was there a moment where, Houston, we have a problem? Was it when you were docking?
So I think everybody knows that we had some thruster failures. We have over 20 thrusters. We lost 5 of them as we were coming up to dock to the space station. We worked hand in hand with Mission Control to get them back on again. During that time frame, though, what is going through your head? The first thruster, we practiced this. We practiced malfunctions, emergencies all the time. It took us about 8 years to get the spacecraft ready to go. So there was a lot of practice thinking, imagining what could go wrong, what typically goes wrong on this mechanical pieces and parts. We didn't anticipate that we would have a systemic issue that we had, and that obviously was not in our training space. So we needed to think on our feet. We needed to act with our mission control, the experts on the ground, to try and do as much as we can to get our spacecraft back to operating as normally as we could. That was a lot of work. In that work, though, I reflected back about how much training we did, how whenever we were talking to somebody on the ground that had a specialty, if they were navigation, if they were communications, if they were propulsion, I know those people. I could see their faces as we were having the conversation in my head. These are my friends. They're dedicated for many, many years to try and understand the spacecraft. There's a lot of trust with each other. So the act of fear really never entered my head. What entered my head was the trust that I had with the people on the ground, the trust that I had with my friend and colleague, Butch Wilmore, who is sitting right next to me, the trust he had in me and how we were going to solve this problem. Sometimes problems are really big, and we had a big problem, and you can only solve big problems one little bite at a time, one step at a time, and focus on that one step that you're trying to solve so you don't get totally distracted. So we restarted one thruster at a time, essentially a Control-Alt-Delete for each thruster, with the ground helping out, looking at the software that maybe was causing some of the problems as well. And we got most of our thrusters back, and we were able to control the spacecraft and dock to the space station. Of course, things could have gone a different way, but again, one problem at a time, and we would have looked that next challenge in the face if we were not able to get our thrusters back.
You know, I don't know how many of you got goosebumps, because when you think of it in that moment, you're docking at the International Space Station, it's, you know, and 5 of your thrusters fail. Was there a moment that you and Butch Wilmore, your colleague, looked at each other and there was a possibility that you thought that we could just drift away in space? Was it a possibility?
Yes and no, right? So we actually did do an eye contact, and look at each other at one point in time, and we're like, okay, we're working this together. Everybody's working this together, and we essentially, like, what do they say in sports? Ben would know. You put your game face on. You let all the other distractions not enter your head. You're just doing the job that you were assigned to do. And so, like I was mentioning, if we had not been able to restart all thrusters, we would have worked on the next problem.
What was that?
So the next problem would have probably been, if we were not in enough control, we would have aborted, and then we would have probably tried to come home. That may or may not have worked out well.
Without the thrusters?
Or some of them a little bit decreased in the ability that they could operate. We don't know that. We don't know that. My point is, if we got to that decision point, if we could not adequately control the spacecraft, because we do not want to put the International Space Station in danger. It's a big building, essentially, in space, and we don't want to have a problem and crash into it. They would ask us to go away, and if we went away, we would try to come back home, and that would have had a lot of conversations before we did that, and then we would have worked on trying to do the next troubleshooting process. So I'm not trying to downplay it. I'm not, because I don't want to definitively say it would have been catastrophic. I don't know. We would have solved that problem if we got to it.
Well, aren't we glad you docked and the thrusters came up?
If you've seen any video of us docking and coming into the space station, I was very, very happy we were docked.
No, I'm sure. Because there would have been, you know, when you said you looked at Butch, and both of you knew that there was a problem. When you docked, I'm sure you looked at him again, and you were home at least.
Absolutely.
For that moment.
Yep.
You know, it's tremendous because you say it with so much ease, the kind of determination and courage that it takes to hold your nerve and to keep at it, like you say, one problem at a time.
Well, you know, talking about this very easily because I don't think this is extraordinary. I think the job that we have is actually a job. And I think there's so many people out there, if they were trained for this job, would do this job in the same manner. There's many, many years that go into it, that's for sure. You don't just automatically put somebody in a spacecraft without having training them. And part of the training not only is the technical part, but is the psychological part as well. We learn, we work as teams. The whole process is a team event. And we learn how to work as teams. You learn about different people because what really makes the activity happen is the teamwork, is the people behind there. So I know when I'm thinking about those people in mission control, I know that that person has a wife, or that person has a husband, or that person has a dog. I know those things about those people already because we spent enough time with each other to understand that. I know the soft points in other people. I know the soft point in me. So we have to understand that about each other. And when you do, you give each other a little bit of grace, and then you can work together to accomplish things which are much bigger than you individually can.
You know, Captain Williams, you speak so affectionately and so respectfully about teamwork. I have watched so many of your interviews, and I don't think there's even one where you haven't stressed on how this is such formidable teamwork to keep it all together. And I think that is tremendous to give credit where due. But Korikor, she thinks that what she did wasn't exceptional. Was it exceptional or not? Please tell her that. It was exceptional. And what was also more exceptional, if I can say that, is to last out those 9.5 months with the kind of attitude that you did with. It was tremendous to watch you. You know, we were all following you back home in India. The videos of you brushing your teeth, you know, that video of, okay, this is how you drink water, running a marathon and completing it, amazing. The Boston Marathon, which you ran while your sister ran it in Boston, and you ran it up there. What timing did you do?
I think she beat me. I did about 4:22 or something. I think she did 4:19.
That's fine. You were in space. You get a bit of leeway there. But tremendous. But you know, I think everyone here in this audience has that one question. 9.5 months, the spacecraft that you've come up on isn't quite working, or the problem, whatever there is, cannot be solved. There are visuals coming of you, of Bitch Wilmore, that both of you are full of, you know, courage. You're looking at solving problems, seem happy, determined, all put together. There had to be a weak moment. There had to be a moment where maybe Sunita Williams looked outside the window and said, what if?
Of course, I'm human, right? So of course, there were definitely moments. But I will tell you, we knew immediately after we had the problem that once we got docked to the space station, we'd be there for a little longer. And I honestly, before we even launched, was lamenting because I love being in space. So I was like, oh, 8 days, 10 days, that's too short. Hopefully it'll drag out a little bit.
Clearly you didn't pack enough underwear.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that is absolutely true. They took some of our clothes off to put other equipment on board. But that's okay. There's enough there, and we have friends, and we can share, and they can give them our stuff. That's all good. That's very surmountable problems. But once we were there for a little while, I think what was the most difficult part was not really knowing what we were going to do, and knowing that we had family and friends, activities with families and friends that we had planned on doing back here on Earth, and we're maybe didn't know how many of those things we would get to do or we wouldn't get to do. So that, I think, was the frustrating part of the summertime, just trying to really understand the problem, really understand the solution, whether or not that could be solved, whether or not there was a chance we were going to come home. So I think that was frustrating, not only for us, but also for our families. We didn't have an answer for our families, and so they were along for the ride with us.
It could be next week, it could be next month, it could be 8 months after that.
When the decision was made, though, my family seemed okay and happy, and I don't know if they were just happy to get rid of me for another 6 months or what, but everybody was okay with it, and everyone was like, just come home in a safe spacecraft. And I was like, I was so honored by that. And that's one of those lessons learned that I feel like when anybody has something big to tackle, if your family and friends support you, that really helps you achieve bigger things than you could do too. But one other time, which was really sad, we had already had the decision that we were going to stay another 6 months. I thought about the people who were on that next mission, and 2 of them had to get off of that mission so that there would be seats for Butch and I. And I thought that sort of broke my heart a little bit. One of the persons had never flown before. This would have been her first flight. She had trained so many years. Her whole job for her whole life was getting ready for this one mission, and it was going to have to be delayed. So that also broke my heart a little bit about taking the place of somebody else. I think that's why I feel like retirement is okay. Let the other younger generation do the exploration.
And that's where the teamwork that you speak of comes in and holds it together. But, you know, while you were up in space, there was a fair amount of press and politics that was swirling around. And, you know, back home, I remember most of, my television network, we had a daily capsule on what is up with the Boeing Starliner. Will Sunita Williams come home? Is she stranded? It's been 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. Look at the health repercussions. And back home in America, the politics around it. Were you guys somewhere down the line? Did you know what was going on?
Thankfully not as much as all of you. So I was actually, we have the ability to watch news. It's usually like a day late. There's things up in space that I don't really love to do. I don't love to do things that I could do here on Earth. I don't love to watch the news. I can do many other things. So I had heard rumors, of course. I'm talking to my family and friends. They're telling me more about it than me watching the news. I'm like, don't worry about it. It's no big deal. But I could absolutely see why people would have the impression, because the data, the information was not coming out in a very direct, concise way. And so a lot of people were surmising what is happening. Why isn't anybody saying anything? What is happening with the spacecraft? And I think it was a great exercise in proper communication or non-proper communication. And we learned how we can message what's happening a little bit better on future spacecraft. So, I think it caught everybody by surprise, this failure that we had, and people didn't know how to handle it. And so not correct information was circulating all around, and I think that led to some of the crazy things that I'm sorry you all had to put up with my face on the news every day. We are very apologetic about that, because I was confident.
We were worried. We were all really worried.
I know, I feel that, but I was confident. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of people who were trying to solve the problem, figure out how Butch and I were going to get back home. So I just thank everybody for having that concern. I think it's one of the biggest things that when I came home, I recognized. I didn't talk about it entirely at the podium, but I hinted at it. People that I don't even know, and here at the festival, also people, maybe you're sitting next to somebody you don't even know. I don't even know people's background. I don't know their politics. I don't know their race. I don't know their religion. I don't even care. People were so nice to me when I came back, all of that. They were just so happy as a human that Butch and I were able to come back to Earth, and I felt that every single day after I've come back, and leads me to the conclusion, as I said, humans are good. We're nice, and we care about each other. That's in our heart.
Every time in lots of press interactions, she's completely brushed aside on what could be the physical impact of being in space for over 9 months. You and Butch Wilmore have done it and said, oh, we trained. We have trained. But microgravity, the impact on your muscle mass, bone density, there is so much that can impact your body. I want to know, Ms. Williams, now, where you're over 9 months away from when you came, is there any long-term impact that you're facing today of being in space for so long?
Nothing that I know right now. Honestly, we recognize that we're going to be there for a little while, right? And if you don't do anything, if you're even there for like 10 days, you're going to feel some effects when you come home. So both Butch and I do like to do physical activity, so we were quickly on the treadmill and the weightlifting equipment. And then, as the mission wore on, we kept working out, of course. We both like it. It was fine. It does get old every single day. doing deadlifts, doing squats, getting on the treadmill, getting on the bicycle, one of those things. But you have to do it. Every second that you're not here on Earth with gravity, your bone density is leaching away. Every single second, your muscle mass is going away because we don't have to support ourselves. So it's happening. And we talk about this beforehand with our trainers, with our medical people. There's foods that we're supposed to eat to make sure your calories are enough to maintain you. So we are very aware of it. And so all the time we're working out. And then at certain times during the mission, we get some physical fitness tests from folks on the ground. Said they can judge us. We can judge ourselves and understand where we stand. So when I came back, our programs are pretty awesome. Usually the place where you lose bone densities, particularly as older women, is like your hip area. I think I had like 1% bone loss, which is recoverable. So I'm essentially back to normal.
No long-term impact.
No long-term.
Oh, well, that's good to know. That is good to know because there was so much that was written about that, the physical impact of it. No, there's an emotional impact, but there is a physical impact as well.
Right, and also I would just add, like part of all of that is going into whatever process program that you have in good shape. That's sort of like a little bit of a reserve. The whole reason I ran the marathon while I was up there was just sort of to emphasize back home, here on Earth, take note. It's really a way of life. Physical fitness every single day, health every single day, thinking about it. I was so psyched this morning. I came down here to the beach and people were working out, doing yoga, exercising. I was like, yes, we got it. People are doing it here in Kerala. I love it.
Well, she did take a bit of India to space, be it samosas. You had a bit of a samosa party. Be it an idol of Lord Ganesha, the Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads. I want to ask why, because usually, when I was listening to some of your interviews, some of Butch Wilmore's interviews, he would be attending church every week when he was in space. He spoke about that. You carried Lord Ganesha's idol with you. You carried the Bhagavad Gita with you. One would think a scientific temperament, an astronaut, scientist, would, if not atheist, be agnostic. To be religious, you don't see it together. So I want to get an understanding. That, are you a believer? Did you do it? Did you pray?
So I think spirituality and science go hand in hand. I don't think one deletes the other. When you have the opportunity to be up in space and look back at the planet and look at the marvel of this place where all of these people, these miracles, every single one of you is a miracle. All of these miracles are living right here. It does make you stop for a minute and wonder, how did this all happen? And there's got to be a greater power that allowed all of us to be here today, allows all of us to be here every single day on this planet. So I don't think it's separate. Being up in space gives us a certain window that other people don't get to have. And that's one of the reasons I wanted so much to come here and other places, is to share my perspective, that it's okay to think about spirituality. It's okay to think about science. All of that goes hand in hand when you have the ability to see the greatness of this planet.
So you're a man or a woman of science as much as a woman of God. Yes?
Absolutely.
Wow. I'm going to lighten up the moment. How many of you loved Sunita Williams' hair in space? You had some fabulous hair days. I loved it. I just want to know, is it that because, why didn't you tie your hair? You can't tie your hair, or you just chose, this is the day I want to, keep my hair up.
No,
as high it can go.
I didn't tie up my hair just because that's such a quick, easy demonstration of where we are, right? We are in microgravity. I mean, it's so funny. The first day that I was in space, my first flight, when you sit there and you don't think about it because you don't know exactly how your body's gonna react, your arms will start to float up. If you watch somebody sleeping, their arms float up. Their arms are not down by their sides. The only reason your hands are down here is because of gravity. Or your brain goes, put your arms down by your side because you look like a dum-dum with your hands up like this. So having your hair up is just every single moment is in microgravity. So I think I just was like, it's so fun. Like, I can't do that here. That's it. So I took advantage of the time that I had and let it just be
So
crazy.
your husband would be like, no, not how long your hair is, but how high has your hair grown?
Keeps growing and growing.
Tell us, because you say, because your hands go up when you're in space, you don't realize it. What's the closest that you can do on Earth to feel like you're in space?
I think in
Floating
a pool,
in water?
Yeah, in the water, in a pool, and it was actually even in a bathtub. The other day, I was in some hotel that had a really big bathtub, and I was like, I'm going to take a bath, and I just started filling the water up, and my legs started to float, and I was chuckling to myself. I'm like, I wasn't holding them down on the bottom. My legs were just starting to lift up and float. I'm like, this is exactly what it's like in space. Like, you don't really have control of it. It just happens. Everything starts to float. And it's actually really fun, except for you lose things. Like, it's so nice to have this tissue on a flat place or the water on a flat thing, because in space you have to have Velcro or some way to tie it down, or it's going all over the place. So you're floating, but everything else is floating too.
We were speaking about your hair. I remember you had President Trump who said, that lady with the crazy hair. It was quite interesting. But I want to come down to something, because you speak of, okay, I'm going to go for questions in the last 10 minutes, but I'm going to ask you this. She's always spoken about teamwork, doing it together. And what made, personally, me tear up yesterday was to hear the mother of Kalpana Chawla. And she was your friend. And where she said, and she said it in chaste Punjabi, and she said, "वो तो 3 महीने रह के गई थी हमारे साथ." That you stayed for 3 months after Kalpana Chawla had tragically passed away in the Columbia Space Shuttle in 2003. Was it because you were friends, or was it that you had to do for a teammate because the heartbreak of the family was just too intense?
I think all of that all together. Kalpana was a good friend of mine. As soon as when you have something in common with somebody, all of a sudden you gravitate to them. She was selected to be an astronaut a couple years before me. So when I came to Johnson Space Center and she was there, I was looking for her, hi, I'm Indian too. And it's just one of those things that if you ever go away to another country, I think you automatically notice somebody who has some characteristics that the same as you, and you automatically want to just be friends. And what a joy for me. She is an amazing individual. My family is very get it, go. And so we started hiking together and biking together, and she always made me stop and slow down periodically to look at the birds, to look at the trees, the plants, whatever. She always was able to bring me back to what was really important and not just the workout. We flew together in a small airplane across the country, essentially, and she was amazing. I said, are we just going from A to B? She goes, oh, no, we're going to follow this river to this river, and then we're going to follow this patch of trees over to this coastline over here. And I was like, don't we want to get home? She goes, but don't you want to see the world? And I said, yeah, that's awesome. Let's do it.
So you guys were friends.
We were good friends.
And her accident in 2003 didn't deter you. It made you go forward.
No, it's interesting. I have other good friends who were on the Columbia Space Shuttle as well. One of them actually was a very dear friend from a lot earlier in my time in the Navy, and he was one of those people who told me, or encouraged me to apply and become an astronaut, because he was like, Sonny, this is the job for you. You would love this. That was Dave Brown. And so there was more than one astronaut on that space shuttle who I knew very, very well. And I knew them well enough to know that they love exploration. They obviously love finding out about things, learning about stuff. How could we stop when some tragedy happens? We have to continue in their name. And in their name, we built the International Space Station and explored enough to have us dare to take the next big steps, like I mentioned, to go to the moon. We couldn't stop. We had to do, for them, continue on the exploration.
We're going to take some questions from the audience, and we're also going to ask her about, because she missed, can we get a mic to that lady who's right in the middle? And also about, Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla came in just after that you left. And it would have been great to have you both at the International Space Station at the same time. Can we get a mic till then?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I had the pleasure of meeting him with his crew in Texas after I came back and right before they were going to go launch. And what a beautiful man, a very nice wife, an amazing son. So very nice family. Of course, did I expect any different? No. Wonderful people. He did an amazing job up in space. So proud of him. So proud of the Indian space program as they venture on to do more things and launch more Indian astronauts.
Let's get a question right there.
It's great to have you here, Sunita ji. Please explain the scientific experiments you were part of in the space station.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, so many. And I'm not going to say I understand them all. There's some amazing scientists who are proposing these experiments and then working with us on the space station. So some of the things that we had the opportunity to do, myself in particular, was do some DNA sequencing. Some of the first times we do just a PCR machine. Some learning how to actually pipette small volumes of fluid from one place to another. That's a process that we were trying to perfect. Another thing was stem cell research, trying to grow stem cells. And that was primarily for the process, trying to understand the process. It's a very clean process, so you could mess it up. And do we have the capability to keep such a nice clean room on the space station? And how that process will then maybe help pharmaceutical companies in the future for low Earth orbit space stations. We did material science, different types of materials that we are putting under in combustion to see for future maybe spacesuits or spacecraft what would be optimized for that. While we were up there, we did some metal 3D printing. It was, again, a process. Can we actually 3D print in space, in microgravity? Here we use gravity quite a bit. Not when I was there, but before I was there, we have a bioprinter. So when we do send people someplace far away, we prove that we could actually print heart cells. So if somebody had some type of medical problem, this is burgeoning technology for when we're far away from Earth and we need to help somebody. So all of those things are like inside, materials, biology, capillary flow. And then we have other experiments that are outside doing Earth observations. And we were tenders of those type of experiments like the alpha magnetic spectrometer. So we were just trying to help tend it so it could gather its data and send it down to Earth. So there's a myriad of experiments that are going on this, and I'm not even talking about some of the stuff that was going on in the other laboratories, the Russian laboratory or the Japanese laboratory. So many experiments.
Can we get another question, a mic somewhere?
How do you drink water in space?
You know, it's an interesting question because some might think you could go like this and this would work. I actually saw one of my astronaut friends take a bag of nuts and go like this, and it doesn't work. You have to actually use a straw. So we have water that's in a bag, and we could put the water in the bag, put a straw on it, and then drink the water out. If you don't have a way to close that straw, though, the water's just going to keep coming out, and it's going to form a big sphere. So you need a lock also on that straw so you could stop. Now for water, just water, this is not so dangerous because it's room temperature and you can drink it. But this happened to me one time with a bag of hot coffee. And the sphere, I turned around for just a second, and this coffee is growing and growing and growing and growing, and I stopped it with the lock, but then I had to figure out how I was going to drink it, what I was going to do. So I was lightly blowing on it, trying to cool it down a little bit, just to the point that I could suck it all in and it go away. Otherwise, you're going to have coffee everywhere.
You can go back, ask your parents to Google Sunita Williams drinking water in space. There's a video of that.
It's great.
You'll be able to see it. There's also another inappropriate question on what you do in space, but I'm going to ask her backstage. So let's, okay, can we get another mic to somebody?
Hi, ma'am. We are human beings. We are very thankful that you are back to Earth. And my question is Earth is spinning around 1,600 kilometers per hour, and ISS is spinning almost 28,000 kilometers per hour. So how do you feel the rotation? And the second question was why you are keeping on changing the path. orbiting maybe in the same direction, but keeping one time you'll be in India, sometimes you'll be in another land. What is the purpose of that?
We're obviously orbiting the planet. We stay at one inclination, 51.6 degrees. And if the Earth was still, we'd orbit the same place all the time. But the Earth rotates, right? And so as the Earth rotates, we see different parts of the planet because the Earth is rotating beneath us, essentially, which is really great. So that way we can, every orbit, you move over about 15 degrees of longitude, essentially. And so that way you can see all of the planet. That's why sometimes you see us and sometimes you don't. In the higher latitudes, of about 51.6, those arcs cross each other so they can see us more often. Here, you'll see us once, 16 orbits every 24 hours, so we see 16 sunrises and sunsets. We may, in that time frame, it'll take a whole other 24 hours to get back to the same place. So we do repeat sometimes. Sometimes we're off just a little bit. It's based on the Earth's tilt, as well as our orbit and the rotation speed. So that's right.
All right, I'm afraid that's all the questions we can take, but let's just end with one very quick question. Up from the International Space Center, which country is the most beautiful?
Oh, that's too
That's
hard
a tough question.
That's too hard to pick, and I think I've mentioned before, it's so hard actually to see borders of countries. The things that are easy to see for countries, of course, are coastlines and rivers, but and mountains to a point. It's hard to actually see borders, so it's hard to put a finger on which is the most beautiful. And all the continents are slightly different. I would go to the window and I would quiz myself. After a while, I didn't want to use the map and just identify some particular part. Of course, here in this Asian continent, sub-Asian continent, you can see the Himalayas. You have to guide yourself in to see Mount Everest with a lake that looks like a wine glass, a lake that looks like a butterfly. Take a couple draws up, take a right-hand turn, and there's Mount Everest. And you can see then all of the snow-capped Himalayas as they come down into the rest of India. I found India in particularly interesting at night. I think we talked about fishing boats. There's an array of fishing boats that's off the coast of India, sort of like a beacon to drive us into viewing India. And then when you see India, one thing that I think is different from my last flights, it seems so interconnected. It seems like nerves, like centers are all lit up, and then all the lines that connect them, it's all connected. I think it is actually even a metaphor for how connected people are by seeing the Earth in that manner, seeing India in that manner.
Thank you, Captain Sunita Williams. For me, it's a rare privilege to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Together.
speakers. That was such an insightful
Raise
session.
a warm applause for Miss Sunita Williams.